China's extensive loans to Russia, can it help replace the dollar with the renminbi? China is actively working towards the goal of replacing the US dollar with the renminbi in the international financial market. Russia, subjected to sanctions by Western countries, has become the opportune ground for China's efforts. According to the latest data from the Kiev School of Economics, as reported by the Financial Times on September 3, China's four major state-owned banks have increased their total investments in Russia from $2.2 billion to a staggering $9.7 billion since the outbreak of the Ukraine-Russia conflict until March 2023. Simultaneously, under pressure from their home country's regulatory authorities and government, Western banks are keen on exiting the Russian market. Chinese banks have stepped in to gradually replace them, enhancing their position. This move undoubtedly benefits China's economic position in Russia, but the question remains, can the renminbi truly replace the US dollar on the global stage? The Ukraine-Russia conflict erupted at the end of February 2022, and in response, international sanctions led by the United States and the European Union targeted Russia. This put Western banks under pressure from their home country regulators and governments to withdraw from Russia. Moreover, the sanctions made it increasingly difficult for these banks to operate in Russia. At this critical juncture, China saw an opportunity to elevate the renminbi's role. China has been actively seeking to increase the importance of the renminbi in the international monetary system, reduce its dependence on the US dollar, and boost its global influence, especially as tensions escalate between the United States and China. Furthermore, having the renminbi achieve a similar or even superior international status to the US dollar could help mitigate the impact of potential Western sanctions in the event of a conflict in the Taiwan Strait. As Western banks gradually withdraw their operations from Russia, Chinese banking institutions have intervened by providing billions of US dollars in funding to Russian banks to fill the void left by their Western counterparts. This strategy is a part of the broader initiative to promote the renminbi as a global currency, replacing the dollar. According to official data provided to the Financial Times by the Kiev School of Economics, over a span of 14 months from before the outbreak of the Ukraine-Russia conflict to March 2023, China's four major state-owned banks, Bank of China, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, China Construction Bank, and Agricultural Bank of China, increased their investments in Russian banks more than fourfold, reaching $9.7 billion. Andriana Priyenko, Deputy Director of the Development Department at the Kiev School of Economics, commented, Chinese banks are providing loans to Russian banks and credit institutions primarily in renminbi, aiming to replace the dollar and euro. This demonstrates that Western sanctions are effective. Furthermore, the role of the renminbi in Russia's foreign trade has been growing. Before Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022, the US dollar and the euro accounted for over 60% of Russia's foreign export payments, while the renminbi made up less than 1%. Now, the US dollar and the euro are referred to as toxic currencies by Russian authorities. According to data from the Russian Central Bank, the share of toxic currencies in Russia's foreign export payments has fallen to below 50%, while the renminbi has risen to 16%. In addition, trade between China and Russia hit a record high of $185 billion in 2022. From January to July 2023, Sino-Russian trade reached $134.1 billion, growing by 36.5% compared to the same period in 2022. This indicates a significant shift in Russia's economy towards China, and renminbi trade has become increasingly crucial in this context. It's worth noting that shortly after the outbreak of the Ukraine-Russia conflict in March 2022, Russia was expelled from the SWIFT payment system. At that time, several Russian banks, including Sberbank, Alfa Bank, and Tinkoff Bank, expressed interest in exploring the issuance of China's UnionPay system bank cards. Gazprom Bank of Russia had already supported cross-border transactions using UnionPay. In contrast to the active involvement of Chinese banks in Russia, Raiffeisen Bank of Austria, with the highest exposure to Russia, has considered how to exit the Russian market. Although its assets in Russia increased from $20.5 billion to $29.2 billion between 2022 and March 2023, a remarkable 40% growth, Raiffeisen Bank is still contemplating selling or splitting its Russian business in March 2023. This demonstrates the persistent pressure from the European Central Bank on regulated European banks to exit Russia. Even though Raiffeisen Bank has experienced profit growth in Russia in the first half of 2023, it is still trying to sell or spin off its Russian assets. However, the Russian government is determined to prevent more Western banks from leaving. In conclusion, while Chinese investments are increasing and they are actively participating in the Russian market, they still lag behind Western banks in terms of funds. Furthermore, China faces complex economic issues at home, including turbulence in the real estate market, mounting local government debt, and sluggish private consumption. Since 2023, the renminbi has depreciated by 5% against the US dollar, leading the People's Bank of China to reduce foreign exchange reserves of financial institutions on September 1. Given this situation, if China continues to increase its investment in Russia to achieve its goal of enhancing the renminbi's status, it will undoubtedly expose China to significant risks before reaching its objective.